You know that question where people say, who would you, if you could have anyone living or dead, come to a dinner party, that kind of question? The more I think about it, the person I think I'd actually like to spend time with, hang out with, learn from, and potentially be influenced into doing psychedelics with, even though I'm in recovery and it would constitute a relapse, is the great, sadly late, Terence McKenna. Terence McKenna was an American ethnobotanist, writer and lecturer who advocated for the responsible use of psychedelic drugs. And by responsible, I don't know if he means responsible. I think he means go out there, discover new realms. He had a kind of crazy voice, which I'm sort of into as well. He spoke and wrote about a variety of topics, including shamanism, language, philosophy, culture, technology, psychedelic drugs, the theoretical origins of human consciousness, politics. He is author of Food of the Gods, The Search for the Original Tree of Knowledge, and True Hallucinations. I love Terence McKenna. His use of language is phenomenal. His scope and range of references is incredible. His ideological stance is beautiful. He loves nature. He loves people. He believes in equality. He believes in the imperative for change and the possibility of change. He's one of the most optimistic and brilliant intellectuals, and widely known as he is, he should be even more widely known. Perhaps he's somewhat corralled by the subject of psychedelics, for which he is best known. But as psychedelics become more and more popular and more people talk about the utility of psychedelics, the potential for psychedelics to heal mental illness, to change consciousness and therefore change the world, because for all we know, the world is naught but consciousness, Terence McKenna's teachings become more and more relevant. In this series on Awakening with Russell, I'm going to be talking about Terence McKenna, why I love him so much, in a series of short little films based on video clips on YouTube. Do you sometimes say hallucinogens instead of hallucinogens? Because I know I do. In this interview, Terence McKenna is talking about hallucinogens with Jeffrey Mishlove. Oh yeah, I've seen this before. This is a good interview. He's talking about psychedelics and culture. Let's start where McKenna is best known. And in some of the other videos, we'll go in all sorts of crazy places. How could we not get tangential and fractal with this brilliant lyrical master?
The problem with the psychedelics is that they dissolve cultural programming and hence inherently have a political charge about them. You see, culture is the product of the unperturbed human mind. The human mind unperturbed through the medium of language.
Wow. Culture is the product of the unperturbed human mind. There are like 5, 6, 12, 24-hour videos of Terence McKenna on YouTube. Elsewhere, you see him sort of speaking to students informally, so lucid and rapid and fast. Here, he's being super deliberate. But his point about psychedelics is it allows you to access another realm of consciousness. I was listening to the brilliant interview between Stephen Fry and Jordan Peterson the other day, or conversation, I suppose you'd call it, maybe, I don't know. In any event, what I felt is that, like with all spiritual experiences, there is only so far, you can get only so close through rational discourse. There's a point where if you imbibe substances or you transcend in some other way, although Terence McKenna would mock that possibility because he believed sort of zealously, evangelically, in the unique power of psychedelics to take you on a journey. But nonetheless, if you listen to two intellectuals chatting about morality, ethics, politics, philosophy, in the end you think, well, what would happen to your belief in, for example, there only being one dimension of consciousness if you took a serious amount of acid or ayahuasca or iboga or DMT? What then? Because I believe that William James's statement that all of the limitless realms of consciousness are separated from the frequency that we inhabit by the thinnest of veils, and he weren't talking about psychedelics. I believe that. And what McKenna is saying here is that our culture isn't our friend. It's a conditioning device. And whilst culture inadvertently occasionally creates a beautiful work of art, some incredible institutions, primarily it's a prohibitive and dominator force. And that's a big political argument. And I'm not even sure that it's entirely Terence McKenna's argument. But certainly what he is saying is that if you disrupt your consciousness, you gain access to information that would be inaccessible if you stay on the level.
erects institutions and social structures into which it then secretes itself and sort of lives in a private Idaho. A psychedelic drug will dissolve these linguistic and cultural assumptions. It is a perturbation of the mind, and the perturbed mind is a mind in the act of rediscovering the nature that lies outside of culture. So this tension between cultural values and what we might call, for want of a better word, reality, creates a tension between institutions and the users.
When McKenna says that there's a tension between cultural values and reality, he's of course acknowledging that culture is elective, designed, evolved, and transmitted through and via human consciousness. It isn't like a tree or a river or a solar system. That's why there is such diversity and variety in culture. You may find some universal values, and God, I hope that there are some, particularly at this time of fragmentation, but McKenna points out that culture is laid upon nature. And in a sense, that's obvious. We can see that a city is built on top of, a forest or a desert or whatever would have been there prior to the city, depending on the geographical conditions of the place the city's in. But what we forget is that culture is not absolute. Look at the literal wars and cultural wars that are happening right now. How would these be possible if the participants were able to step back, psychedelically or otherwise, and say, hold on a minute, this isn't actually real. This isn't real. Not in the way that a flower or a wolf's fangs on your throat are real. This is a different type of real. This is real because of a series of, as our man says, of a series of assumptions, linguistic, philosophical, and cultural. Even watching him in this short clip, I'm reminded of why he is such a hero, because of the way he talks, his certainty, but, and although it's not as much in evidence here, his sort of puckish sense of mischief and fun, which I think perhaps comes, and certainly he would say it does, from his familiarity with alternative planes of being, from the perturbed state of mind, as he refers to it here,
of these substances.
It's as if our culture, if I understand you right, acts as a filter between our minds and direct experience of reality, and the drugs somehow blow away that crust of culture and allow more of a direct, a Gnostic experience.
That's right, and the business of culture, any culture, is to perpetuate its cultural models. And if the hallucinogenic plants have not been integrated into the cultural model, then they are definitely seen as dangerous forces for an unpredictable sort of social change. Mm-hmm. Now, if the hallucinogenic plants have been integrated into the cultural model, this is not then a problem, and this is the case with shamanism.
Shamanism, as I understand it, and as I propose Terence is discussing it here, is the potential to incorporate mystical experience into the governance of social systems, to not limit your understanding of reality to the measurable phenomena that makes up our ordinary lives, but to accept that all of us love, all of us dream, I mean literally fall asleep and inhabit what seems like an entirely immersive reality for the time that you're there, unless you're proper awakened. You don't normally in the middle of a dream go, well, this is just a dream, I'm not going to take this seriously, otherwise what would nightmares be? On every side of the island of our reality is an unexplored expanse of as yet unknown phenomena. At this time of crisis, at this time of dread and fear. Is that the lyrics to Do They Know It's Christmas? That isn't it possible that the solutions that we are looking for may lie in these tools, plant medicine, accessing dormant, latent aspects of our consciousness that become vivified, libidinized, and resacralized by the engagement of the plant, particularly if under the stewardship of a shaman. Terence McKenna is an important intellectual philosopher. I'd even go so far as to say potentially a prophet. Let's learn more about him. If you enjoy this series of videos, please like, subscribe and share. Comment below. Let me know what you think about Terence McKenna. Send us some clips that you'd like to see us discuss. And let's get into this subject, because I think he is a man that could help us at this current impasse, this point where we need radical change, but are somewhat uncertain about how to engage with it. Thanks for watching Awakening. Did I say watching? Thanks for watching Awakening with Russell. Hallucinations. Thank you.